Hey guys, this is me again for Module 3. The talk of a lot of this was about privilege and racial identities, and I think it was and still racism today. Um, well, the first thing I thought was very interesting, it was actually in the Evans book, is that there is the Ren's mix theory, and Ren's mix theory is pretty much where it's based off the psychological and physical environments of the students, how they were coping and how they were together when they were going through different situations, and that's how they identify themselves. And it's really interesting because there could be a person who has more, ethnicity wise, totally different, but they changed their actual identity because of who accepts them and who they've been around their whole life. Now, that was really interesting. One of the biggest theories, which actually will go along with the privilege, is the critical race theory. Critical race theory pretty much summed up in this title of a book. Why are all the black kids sitting together in the cafeteria? This was in the Jones and Aves book, and what is pretty much it is saying that is there our society is ingrained us in a type of segregation and a type of you know way that when students do come to college, they tend to go to the people that most are like them, or they believe is mostly like them because of the sociology of our country. And people will say today, even today, that are our students, is there racism still today in colleges? Yes, there is. I believe so. I know for personally in my high school and even in college, I hear a lot of kids say, "Oh yeah, it's still happening because it's not happening because we have a African American president. That doesn't mean anything and stuff like that." Um, but I still think there's a sort of privilege that students don't understand. I know in our social justice class we read a student from um, a, a student that was pretty much believed that he wasn't privileged. His parents worked for everything, but there is still some privilege involved where they had the sociological norms that weren't really together, and they were ingrained that they did this and other people don't do that. And that's one thing I think about the critical race theory is actually really important is that it pretty much talks about how the sociological settings of our country we and critical thinking skills that we still see this stuff today and how we have to deal with it and how students deal with it. Like at a college, if we're at a predominantly white college, you'll see a lot of African Americans tend to go with the more African Americans than the white students because they're really nervous. I don't know them. They think of me as different, and I want to be considered different. So I want to sit with people of my own kind, and it's really like that's an unfortunate incident we have in our society. I will say these theories are not completely true because I will say even though UNCW's people consider it UNC white, predominantly not diverse, but I do see students who have different roles and they've gone through different circumstances and they're be able to hang out with many people and they do things together and but even that happens there's still a lot of troubles we have today. There's a lot of things involving scholarship, financial aid. You can even see it with voter ID registration, things like that. That with students, it's just really hard to like understand. Um, I think privilege. One of the things that we need to work on is the education of students about privilege. That even though you don't believe it, there is privilege today, and I think I know for us as administrators, we can talk to this with our AAE groups if we really see it. I personally in my AAE groups, I feel like because there's a strong bond through their sport, you don't see that type of segregation and things like that. But I do see it in other ways, with university when you can say with different organizations or even like in different residence halls, you see people. Well, I'm only hanging out with this group because this group identifies with me, so I want to hang out with them. But I think for us as administrators, we need to work on finding ways to create programs to show that everyone's one big happy family, and how that we can. I mean, might be an optimist, but I think that hopefully by the time I have children or even have grandchildren, that racism isn't a thing. I know it's so ingrained in our society, but I just want to, one of the things I hope to do, is education, the continued education of how people do have privileges. People need to figure out how we can be equal and things like that. And I'm hoping that by the next couple of generations, this theory would just be a defunct theory. So, well, I hope you guys liked it all, and I'm looking forward to your responses.